Hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another edition of Ramblings of a GeekyWitch. My name is Melissa and I'm happy that you stopped by again. Today is November 21st, 2020. It's a beautiful day here in Rhode Island. We've been blessed this month with a surprising number of really nice days. So my stitching progress this month has been a little slower than I'd hoped. But that's just because I've been out and enjoying the warmth. I mean, we've been having 70-degree weather, which, think 20 degrees Celsius, a little bit above that if you're outside of the US. Beautiful November weather. We don't get this. So I have been taking advantage of every moment I can outside. And so I haven't gotten the stitching in that I've hoped. However, I wanted to get a FlossTube video going because I haven't updated in a couple of weeks. I want to get myself onto a routine here so that I'm not lagging too far between episodes. And today was the perfect opportunity for me to try something new, which is to do one of the many FlossTube tags that go around several FlossTubes. In this case, I'm going to do one called Get to Know Your Cross Stitcher. I was introduced to it through the Millennial Stitchers, who are a new FlossTube duo who you must try out. They're adorable. They really are adorable. And so I took their questions and I'm adding one of my own because one of the questions they have is not one I really like to answer. So I figure, hey, I'll add my own question at the end. I'm going to post these questions down below. And I would love to know if you answer them on your own FlossTube or your blog. Leave a message. I'll be happy to plug you next time around, which will be next weekend or whenever you get around to doing them. And feel free to ask me any questions that you have. I'd love to answer questions on these FlossTubes, give myself a topic to discuss, dive into, whatnot. So without any further ado, let me get into the questions. Number one, how did you get into cross stitching? I learned to cross stitch as part of a 5th grade art class. My 5th grade teacher was a stitcher, and at some point in the spring of my 5th grade year, she had all of us, boys and girls, we all did a cross stitch project. I cannot remember whether she brought supplies in or whether she gave us here's what you need to go buy. But in any case, what I wound up stitching was a little bookmark, and this now dates me. It was a teddy bear bookmark with hearts on it and balloons, so we're talking mid-80s. And I loved it. I fell instantly in love with doing it. And the reason that I really loved it was because my mother has always been a sewer. And, always on the sewing machine when I was growing up. I remember many hours of her sitting down in her sewing room making Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls, making baby quilts and whatnot, because she was heavily involved in the YWCA craft bazaar. And so, but I was always afraid of her sewing machine. And still am. So this kind of was my way of feeling like I was connected a little bit more with my mom. Because if you meet my mom, she and I are very different people, like very different people. But crafting is really the one thing we seriously have in common. She does hers by sewing, I do mine by hand cross stitching, and it makes me feel very good. So that's how I got into it. The second question was, how long have you been stitching? And this coming spring will mark 35 years for me. So doing some quick math, that will make me 46. God help me. Yes, I've been stitching for the vast majority of my life now. And I love how the craft has evolved in that time. And I still have some of that old stuff though. Maybe if I can find some of those charts, I'll pull them out because I know they're downstairs. So question number 3, what is your favorite cross stitch that you have done? This is kind of a tricky question because I don't really stitch things that I don't enjoy. I'm not a heavy obligation stitcher. So I like parts of everything that I've stitched. I think the proudest moment that I've had stitching is when I finished The Castle by Teresa Wentzler. It was my first big piece. It was a gigantic piece for me at the time, and I started it when I was 15 and finished it when I just had turned, oh, how old was I? I was just turning, 30. So, you know, that was a major component of my life. I think, though, the overall, just the most fun I had with the piece, and probably, so I guess, yeah, that would probably wind up being my favorite piece, is Blue Jeans and Daisies by Blue Ribbon Designs. And the reason why is because it is one of those pieces that I can look around each motif on it and I can tell you roughly what was going on in my life. It is one of those imprint pieces that there's a lot of memory there, and it went through a very big change in my life. There's a lot of memories in that piece. So I think looking at that one up on the wall probably is the favorite one, just because of the emotional tie that it has. So question number 4, what is a stitching tool or a technique that you have not done? I have never done heart hanger, and I've been stupidly nervous to try it. I don't know why I'm so jittery to try it, because I'm not really that fearful of stitching, and I love jumping into new things. There's that weird little block about cutting threads and cutting my fabric. And I have determined that I'm going to get over that in 2021. That's my stitching goal next year, which actually leads into question number 5, which is, what are your stitching goals? 2021, I am going to learn how to do heart hanger. I understand the concept of it. And I also have friends who know how to weave threads back in if you make a mistake. I've got plenty of friends who have done it. So I have the support structure around me if I screw up that I can go to get the help. It's just been a block. Don't know why, but something I'm going to show you in a little bit, you're going to see why I'm going to force myself to learn how to do this, because I've pulled out pieces intentionally for next year that are going to force me to do some heart hanger, hopefully. So that was question 4 and 5. Question 6, what is your favorite fabric and needle? Fabric. I obviously, I've said this before in other videos, I will stitch on anything. I am a firm believer in trying to get the best fabric I can to match the piece. If that's linen, if that's even weave, if that's Aida, if it's freaking burlap, I'll do it. My favorite, though, to stitch on is 36 count linen. I really prefer Zweigart base. I like how soft it is. I will enjoy it by anybody who is hand dyeing it, or just flat out straight from the distributor, which would be the boys in New Jersey. I like how my stitches look on it. And I normally do stitch 2/2 on 36. I think it just gives me a nice coverage that I prefer. I think my stitches just look cleaner on it. But lately I've been on a higher count kick. Most of my stuff has been on 40 and above. So I kind of bounce all over the place. But yeah, if I had to pick 36 count linen, I will stitch anything on it except for memorabilia, because then you can't put your beads on it. So, needle. My favorites currently are Bowens. I usually stitch with a 28. I sometimes will stitch with a 26. If Bowens would come out in a petite, like John James does, I would be in pure bliss. I love the length of the John James petites, but in the last couple, well, a little bit longer than a couple, probably the last 3 or 4 years, I found that the John James needle eyes are a little rough, and I keep having problems with them shredding my floss. I don't know if I'm just getting really, really unlucky and getting bad sets of them. The Bowens, I absolutely love. I will stitch with just about anything, though, except for DMC needles, because I break the eyes by just looking at the darn things, and peacemakers because of a personal ethical issue I have with them. And I'm not going to get into that. But all the others are wonderful. You know, I'll stitch with anything. I am a bad habit person of bending my needle. I always have a little bit of a curve in it, and honestly, I kind of prefer to stitch with them a little bit bent. My friend Becky and I joke that that's when we've broken in our needles, and I will stitch with those things bent until they finally are looking at me like, I'm going to break on you. If you don't put me down, I'm going to break on you. Just letting you know. So yeah, lately Bowen 28s. I'll do some Pat Carsons. I do like those. I don't think that they're superb. They're great needles, but yeah, Bowens and I seem to get along pretty well. Number 7, what has been your most challenging cross stitch? That's an easy one. I am currently working, although it's been very quiet in the back of the closet for the past year, Chatelain's Deep Blue Sea, which was a mystery back in 2012, one of her 12-part mysteries. I am on part 4. It has taken me since 2012 to get to part 4, partially because I had a child in the middle of that. I have found it to be a very challenging stitch. Part of that's my own fault because I chose dark fabric, but part of it is the way the instructions go. I absolutely love her pieces. Her charts drive me crazy. So yeah, that's my most challenging stitch. That one you will see sometime in the next couple of months, because I am going to be pulling that back out in 2021. Number 8, who is your favorite artist? I'm going to assume that this is artist designer, but I'll combine this also with someone that I really do like from the Heaven and Earth site that do design for their charts. Favorite designer of all time is Teresa Wensler. I know now some of her stuff is starting to get quite dated, but I love the challenge of her charts. I love how intricate they come out and how tapestry-like they come out. A close second behind that is Jeanette Douglas, and a very close third behind that is Blue Ribbon Designs. But as you've seen on my channel already, I do a little bit of everything. I'm not set in one style. I'm not set in with one designer. I do everything. Now, as far as like a graphic artist designer, and this leans more towards the Heaven and Earth and the things that I covet, but I know I will probably never, ever get to, because I am just not a full coverage stitcher by nature. Stephanie Puimin Law, who does a lot of Asian fusion graphic design. I love her style. Absolutely love it. I have her tarot deck. I was introduced to her when she was doing graphic design for Dungeons and Dragons back in the 3rd edition. And there are a ton of her designs currently on the Heaven and Earth site for sale. And I do have a couple of them. And I have one Heaven and Earth going that is one of her designs. I will probably never finish the darn thing, but absolutely love her style. But yes, so Teresa Wensler, Stephanie Puppenlaw. Number 9, who is your favorite FlossTube creator? This is the question I'm uncomfortable answering. Partially because I hate playing favorites, especially with people that I interact with personally. I hate it. I'm always going to lean preference towards the people that I know. And so I'm going to pick Amy Gable Stitcher. I'm going to pick Abby Bella Stitch, because I know them, because I get to see their stuff in person. But I love so many people out there, and I just love seeing the diversity of everything. So it's a bit of a cop-out to the question, I know, and I'm sorry. But I would rather just plug everybody when I have a chance and something that really catches my eye. So I'm going to kind of cop out on that question. So that was the questions from Millennial Stitchers. And I wanted to add on a number 10, which is, are you a rotation, a one-of-a-timer, or a chaos stitcher? And I think that the best way to describe myself is that I am at heart a rotation stitcher whose rotations tend to turn chaotic. I always have great plans. I don't always follow them. But in my heart, I feel that I do better with rotation. I want to stitch everything, and I am someone who gets very bored very quickly. So I like the permission of a rotation to say, it's time to move on. Let's go on to something else, and not feel guilt about it. And I know it's a hobby and that I shouldn't be feeling guilty for what I like to do, but I still do. So yes, I'm a chaotic rotation stitcher. So those are the questions. I'm going to post those below. Please jump in, do them, change them up, do something that applies more to you. If you do answer them or you come up with your own, please drop a comment down and let me know where you are. And I will come read and comment and plug you and have a great, we'll have a great bonding community fest here. So I wanted to show you a couple of things that are going on to continue this video. First off, my progress, which is a little less than I hoped, again, because of the really nice weather we've had, and also because my son came unexpectedly back into a week of remote learning due to a COVID issue at his school for a week. Everyone's fine. He is expected to go back on Tuesday for a day before they're off again for Thanksgiving. But, so he was home this week, which kind of was like, oh, okay, I'm remote learning. This is great. Yeah. So that's how this week went. So I haven't gotten the stitching done that I hoped, but I have gotten a little bit done. So the first one that I'm going to show you is Leaping Cat by La Di Da. And this is a teeny tiny one, as you can see. Everything that I've done has been over here, all of the green on this side. And I was kind of bothered by it when I was stitching it. And again, I think it's because I was so, when you're stitching, how you're so close to everything and you see every little stupid imperfection in your stitching. I was bothered by the coloring, but holding up here to the screen, yeah, it does look fine. So I'm less bothered by it now. I just felt like the colors weren't blending very well together, but no, they're doing okay. So that's where I am on that one, and I'm hoping to get a nice amount of work on this next weekend. because once I get through this hurdle, a lot of the rest of the stuff is really, really quick to get done. It's like, you know, like single stitch with alphabet letters and stuff. So this is one I hope to get done by the end of the year. I think I can do it because it's not that big of a stitch. The other one I've been working on is the big blue monster known as Smoky Mountain Cats, which is a whole ton of blue. I have been doing a strand a night on this. I confess I have skipped a couple of nights this month just because I was too darn tired. But I have been focusing on working up these rows. So they are individual solid color rows, very boring stitching, but great for doing while you're chatting with other stitchers on Zoom, because you don't have to look at your pattern, you just run it back and forth. So I've got about 5 more rows, I think. 5 more rows that go up, and then I am to the top of the piece here, and then I will be getting back down here where you see that I'm still filling in cats. I have no timeline to finish this. I'm just enjoying being part of a casual challenge this month to do a strand a night. I will probably, you know, kind of get this off and on over the next several months, and hey, maybe I'll finally finish this. This is one of my oldest whips. It will be going into its 20s and legal drinking age in a couple of years. So it's time to get this one done. But yeah, so those are what I've been working on. I have put a little bit onto And They Sinned, but again, it's been so beautiful on Sundays that I haven't gotten anything that's really worth showing because I haven't gotten that much done. So next weekend when I do my end of the month update video, hopefully I'll have a little bit more done on that one where I can show you what I've done. So the final thing that I want to show you is plans, upcoming stitching plans. If you are involved at all in Instagram and Lindy Stitchers, Abby Bella Stitch, Kansas City Girl and Colorado World, if you see all of these folks on Instagram, there is a very fun challenge going on of a 21 things before 2021. It has various names, but that's the gist of the challenge to start them. And I got the bug, and I debated, all right, am I going to start this before 2021, or am I going to go with my original plan that I had, which was to have a crazy January and guilt-free January, start whatever the heck I want? I'm still waffling between the two. If I do the 21 before 21, I would start it on December 1st and enjoy it as a kind of a Yuletide Advent, getting down to Yule, which is the 21st of December. I don't know if I'm actually going to do that though, because work has been really weird lately. And again, with the COVID stuff escalating, I am concerned Max is going to be home from school and doing remote learning. And if he does that, I'm going to be wiped out at the end of the night. So I'm still playing it by ear. But the rules I had regardless for either Guilt-Free January or this challenge are new starts that are coming up right now. I am only allowed to start things that I can fully kit from stash. I am not doing a, no spending year in 2021. I doom myself as soon as I declare that as a goal. So I am going to allow myself to purchase things as I really want to in 2021. However, the goal right now is to stitch stuff that I have kitted. There's a lot that's kitted, at least partially, and I can kit a whole bunch of stuff from stash right now. Time to start using some of this stuff. So I pulled out just a variety of things, and I don't have all 21 here because I haven't finished this list, but here are the things that I currently am brewing over. So the first one is Lizzie Kate's ABCs of Parenting, which will be a nice, fun, easy stitch. I've got plenty of antique white, and I'm sure I've got other really light neutrals to put this on. And I would stitch this in DMC and just use what I've got. So my colors may be a little bit off what the originals were, but regardless, it'll be fun. The second one, and this is for Halloween next year, is the Drawn Thread Full Moon. I love these. I love that little crow on the pumpkin. I think he is absolutely adorable. And of course, the scissor fob, or, you know, is it supposed to be a scissor fob? It's either a scissor fob or it's like a pin cushion, but I would make it into a scissor fob. So that one's going to come up next year. I have this fully kitted. This is ready to go. The next one is one of the Let's Attempt to Learn Hardangers. And I got this one through Stitcher's Hideaway when I go to that retreat as part of a goodie bag that we get when we go there. And this is the Victoria Sampler Valentine Cupcakes. And there's 3 of them there. And Victoria Sampler was generous enough to give us all 3 silicone cupcake tins and all of the baubles that go on top. So all I need to do is get some floss and some fabric. And of course, cupcakes, I can pretty much pick whatever the heck I want as long as it'll look good in the red silicone. So this will teach me some hardanger. I think there will be just the right size to learn it, hopefully. But yeah, so I've had this piece for about 3 years now, and it's kind of been sitting there looking at me like, you want to do this. So that's on the list. This will happen next year. This isn't being mulled. This is happening. The next one is, and this picture is not going to come up well, but this is from Old Colonial Designs, the lavender sachet. Isn't that cute? I think I have that. Yeah, I have that in front of me here. Let me grab that. I have the full kit for this with a whole bag of dried lavender. So this will be ready to finish as soon as I get it stitched. It's not that big. So it just says that I need some interfacing and filling, but I've got lavender, so I don't think I need any other filling. Oh, maybe they mean some polyfill. Well, I got plenty of that. So that'll come out. The next one is from Jeanette Douglas Quilt Box. My copy that I have is the blue. I have all the flosses for that version. I think I have one of those really pretty wooden trays, and I want to see if it's the right size to go in that. My tray might be a little too big though, but that's my running plan of how I'm going to finish that one eventually. But yeah, so this will be coming up this coming year. The next one I just finally found all of my sets, my pieces of this set. I have them all, and I knew I had them all, but they were scattered in a couple of different places because they weren't all bought at the same time. And this is Little House Needleworks From Sea to Shining Sea. I have the full kits. Pardon all the holes. My dear cat Gus loves plastic, and he really did a number on this piece. But yeah, so I'm going to be starting this one. I have all of the silk flosses it comes with. The design comes in 6 parts. One that just has the bottom border, and then each one of these squares comes individually. I don't know if they come in only chart form. I've only seen them when they come with the floss, and it's all silk. So I'm looking forward to stitching this one. The next one is my first ever primitive hare, which is funny because I have a whole ton of her charts. I've met her personally. She is a sweetheart. She's a fellow witchy stitcher, which I absolutely adore. And I bought this from her a couple of years ago when she was at Celebration of Needlework in Nashua. So this is called a Stitcher Sampler. And I have this one fully kitted. So this is stitched with Gentle Arts Garden Gate, which is kind of a dark gray. Really pretty, not that complicated. And I probably will, let me flip in here. I probably will pull a couple of like the scissors and whatnot to make those little designs on the side too, because they're just the scissors that are in the border there. So there's that one. The next one is another one by Victoria's Sampler, and I have been debating this one for about 4 years, whether or not it was going to become a New Year's start. And it might become this year's New Year's start. I haven't decided yet, but it will be started in January. This is Jazz Sampler by Victoria's Sampler. Again, there's more heart hanger down there for me, but it's not a big sampler. I mean, this really isn't that big. When it's done, this is going to be pretty little. But I love it. I am a heavy music fan. I mean, I'm part of a sorority that's for band geeks, for crying out loud. So the parades in New Orleans just fascinate me. So, and I've never experienced them. I've never been in New Orleans, but there's just something about this one that I just really, really love. So this will be getting started. And it's a band sampler, and I have an addiction to band samplers. 2 more. So the next one is by Morning Glory Needleworks, another teeny, teeny, tiny little sampler. This is the Mary Gilbert 1779. And Dawn, who is Morning Glory Needleworks, was putting this one together and recreating it at one of the Stitcher's Hideaway retreats that I was at. And so I was thrilled when she finished it. And she has this in 2 different colorways. This is the more somber version. And then when she took the backing off and looked at the back of the chart that hadn't hit the sunlight, she saw the really glaring, gaudy colors that it originally was. So she's charted it both ways. I will be doing mine in this colorway, because the other one I'm like, it's a little deadly for excuse me, a little deadly for me. So there's that one. And then the final one I have is Ink Circles Forests of Sumatra. Isn't that one cool? And of course, me, big projects. What a surprise. Fully kitted. I have the antique white for this, and I have the called for thread, which is a story in itself, because when I bought it, she asked me, do you want the thread too? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I want the thread with it. I didn't realize that the thread pack that was in the back of it was all Gloriana. So I didn't know Gloriana came in a pack this big. Let me pull this out of the bag here so I don't show the chart pattern. This is, folks know how expensive Gloriana is, right? And I think the standard skein of Gloriana is what, like 7 yards? Something like that. This is 50 yards of Gloriana. I a little bit of a sticker shock, and I wasn't paying attention, but that's okay, because you know what? I love the floss, and I wouldn't want to do this in any other color. Look at that variation. Isn't that gorgeous? So yeah, so that'll be done in the color it calls for, with the very expensive Gloriana that I bought. And that again will be part of my guilt-free January. So that's what, probably about half of a 21. I may stop there, but we'll see. It's guilt-free January. So if anything else I stumble across in my projects attracts my eye, so be it. I'll get there when I get there. So that about wraps it up for me for now. I will be back next weekend with my end of the month to do my Apocalypse update post, because the Apocalypse official check-in date is the last Sunday of every month. Come join us. We'd love to have you. Come on in next year. Yeah, that's it. So I hope those of you in the United States have a lovely Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be a weird one this year, but please stay safe, stay home, wear your mask. And for everyone else, have a lovely week, and I'll see you next weekend.